All right. I am here with Anders Osborne, who's joining us from New Orleans, right, Anders?
Yep, I'm home.
It's Eclipse Day here. Did you get any eclipse action?
Yeah, I clipsed in my bed. I was taking a nap and clipsed away. I was just gonna
um,
rest for a minute. An hour went by. I guess I clipsed it.
I guess that's a pretty good way to spend an afternoon, though. Either way, right?
Oh, it's great. I had a cat. My cat Gus fell asleep on top of me, and that's probably what kept me down.
That's awesome. Well, it was cloudy here in Philadelphia, so that's how it goes. Thanks for doing this. This is going to be a podcast episode we'll release on the drop, but I wanted to stream just in case people wanted to drop in and hear what you're up to. You have an album coming out this month,
Yeah.
um, Picasso's Villa. How just I don't know what how you feeling about it, and what approach did you take on this album versus any other your previous work?
Okay. Yeah, I love it. Let me see. We started it right before the pandemic,
Oh wow,
and uh, and then it kind of obviously the pandemic held it up for a minute, and then we got back to mixing it. I think like in the pandemic or something, and then we like, well, we shouldn't release it right now. We can't really tour, and then 2021 passed. Then we regrouped a little bit, and I made another record. Actually, I made a lot of records, but they're in the can. But then I changed management a year ago, and I played the stuff I had laying around, and that was one of them. And the new management said, "This is a great record. Out of the four you played us, this one we love." And I said, "Great, let's put it out." So that's kind of how it came about to come out a little later. But the approach at the time, it's kind of a record, even though it was written right before the pandemic. It feels like it was a pandemic record in a way. Like the lyrics are really relevant to what it was like during the last 3 4 years, 19, sort of like 2018 to 2023. That's the span, those 5 years of my experiences, both personally but also a little bit socially. I'm just making a couple of comments, which I usually don't do very much, but lately I've been stepping up on my soapbox a couple of times here and there. I have things to say.
yeah,
um,
yeah.
yeah, I try to remain, balanced about things, but the approach was to do similar things to my previous record, which was Buddha and the Blues.
Yeah,
I used to
2019,
sing.
right?
Yeah, came out in
Yeah.
19, I think. So that was the drummer that plays with me for a long time now, Chad Cromwell, who's also a very reputable and well-known session guy over the years. He helped me. He is producing the record and has produced several of my last records. He put together Bob Glob on bass and Waddy Wattel on guitar, and we used that on Buddha, and then we did that on this one. But on Buddha, we wanted to do it in California during kind of a dry month. I wanted it to have like a Southern California, early 70s, mid 70s feel. So that was the approach to that. This time I wanted to do it in New Orleans. So we brought those cats here and cut it at Esplanade Studios. I wanted to darken it up a little bit, get a little bit more heavy guitars. I wanted to like put some grunge on it. Um, but also the topics were more liberating than Buddha. They were not so melancholy and sentimental. They were more I don't know. They were both angrier but also a lot more positive, like everything is pretty rocking. You know what I mean? Glass half
Yeah.
full has always been my thing. So I'm trying to keep that theme on this record. Um, and that's pretty much it. And then Dr. John, who was a friend of mine, Mac, died. So the last song is for him. It's called Le Grand Zombie. And so I utilized a bunch of his lyrics and incorporated it into that tune.
Awesome.
Anything else I should mention? I think that's it. Yep. I had some guests. Ivan came and played keyboards. Ivan Neville.
Oh, nice.
Gina Forsythe Gina Forsythe, who's an amazing fiddle player and great songwriter too, down here in Louisiana. She came and played on it. Yeah, a few other friends.
You can't really do an album in New Orleans without having a bunch of guests show up, right? I feel like that's how you got to do it.
Say that again. You broke up a little bit. Say that again.
I said you can't make a record in New Orleans without having a bunch of people stop by.
That's right.
That's how it
I think it's a contract. You have to fulfill it.
So I wanted to. So you're going to be on tour a bunch. I know you're doing some New Orleans shows as always, like before you hit the road. But then you're doing kind of a big tour, right? That looks like a lot of dates coming up.
Yeah, I hooked up with my old friend Tab Benoit. So that's a lot of the summer touring. We're pairing up and doing a tour together and combining. We're playing on each other's sets. So we're doing one long 2+ hour show, mixing up the songs, combining the bands, and that's going to be killer. That's a lot of dates. And then leading up to that, obviously Jazz Fest, end of April, beginning of May, I do a bunch of stuff with my band here and some other stuff. And in May, I'm doing a mix of solo and a rock and roll trio and a couple of duo gigs, kind of peppered in all through May, first week of June, before I prepare for the long touring in July, August, September, October. Yeah.
Amazing. Amazing. And I know that the first show that's coming up anyway, down there at the House of Blues is with my friends, the infamous String Dusters, which is a great. Anyone who's going to be there should see. I hope you get to hang and play with those guys a little bit.
Yeah, they're fantastic. We met
Really
a few years ago, and I'm a huge fan, and we try to collaborate when we can. So we've done maybe 2-3 times some videos, recordings, and live shows, and we love playing together.
That's awesome. Well, so I wanted to ask you about this stuff, but the real reason we're here is to talk about you're participating in the Music on the Mountain Festival on May 18th in Ludlow, Vermont, as part of the Divided Sky Foundation, the Phoenix. There's the Divided Sky Fund Run, which Fish fans know about and have done for several years now. And I think this is the first time we're bringing music after. It's you and Dogs in a Pile and Saints and Liars playing at Akimo Mountain in Ludlow, which is really awesome. But I wanted to actually ask you first about the Phoenix, because I just got kind of introduced to them through this event and all the promotion and stuff that's going on. But I think you've known about them for a while.
Yeah, so I have a foundation called Send Me a Friend. And it was an idea I had a few years after I got sober. So I got sober 15 years ago. And a few years after that, I started to talk to one of my friends who started Tipitina's Foundation and Trombone Shorty Foundation. And he's also in recovery. He's a good friend of mine, Bill Taylor. And I said, I have this idea that as a music industry person or a musician, when we first get sober, a lot of times they tell us, and basically they tell us to quit our job. It's too dangerous for you to go back, to find something else to do for a minute.
Wow.
And I don't have even a high school diploma, so I don't know what I could fall back on. So I was like, this is ludicrous. Music is what I do. Whether I like it or not, that's my job. That's what I've been committing to. So I went out there, and then the scene, it was pretty difficult because the culture of drugs and alcohol is so ingrained in entertainment. It's whether it's sports, football, and anything, you're drinking. Everybody's always drinking. It's part of our American culture here is to drink all the time. So when I went back to work, part of musician's job also is to party with the people that are partying. So it was difficult. Now I had an experience where a few people from AA, some older guys, offered to sit with me during my show, one of the shows I had in New Orleans, and I said, I don't know what you mean. They said, oh, nothing. We'll come out and be with you. We'll sit there. I'm like, okay. So they did. They showed up 30 minutes before the show. They sat next to the stage, and I saw them, and I remember thinking, wow, I don't know why this is so empowering, but I feel, first of all, I feel safer, but I also feel like, what's the word? More responsible. I'm here to work, and they're just reminding me I'm working, even though it's fun and we're playing and entertaining people. My job is to, be on top of things and lead the party tonight. So that spawned me to think of, is there a way we can start something where we have a whole database where people come out? Anyway, long story short, or a little bit shorter, it became Send Me a Friend. So we started, me and Bill, a foundation where you sign up, you have some sobriety, and then you can come out, you sign up for it. And musicians, music industry people can ask for someone to come out because they just got sober and they got to go back to work. So we send thousands of people out all over the country that keeps musicians and music industry people company while they work so they can go back. So that was the beginning of something. Then we needed some help with a bigger umbrella, and that's where Phoenix came in. And A Million Strong is something we started also through this, and Stand Together. It's another organization. It's a lot of talking now, but basically answering your question, Phoenix is another sober group that has a lot more resources and a lot more expansive contacts and connections than we had. So they helped us just branch out, and we're under their umbrella to do things like what we're doing now up in Vermont, where we can reach and connect and just, make sure we're all talking to each other about addiction and how to live without using, drinking and drugging, and still having a wonderful life and lots of fun playing music. So
That's amazing. It's awesome. And congrats on the 15 years. That's amazing.
thank you.
It's really great. And I know that it's interesting because the like you said, it's kind of ingrained in our, music culture, but I do feel like that's changing a little bit. And I do think
Yeah.
there are now, a little bit like it's a little bit more comfortable if you're going to a show that you can be sober. But what have you seen this like back in the day? I guess there was just not, it's just not possible.
Yeah, it was different because, sex, drugs, and rock and roll was kind of a whole thing. And then it came from the Charlie Parker and heroin use and opiates, and smoking reefer. And all of it is so deeply connected to what I think people that struggle with creativity, and I may, get some backlash for this, but people that are not naturally maybe always feeling connected to their creativity, they use these things as tools to get more creative.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as a creative, my whole life, I haven't really had trouble with that. I didn't need it. I needed it to turn off the creativity or to feel more social or accepted. Now, whatever the reason is for using, the culture of rock and roll and music has kind of grown into this intoxication culture. You're supposed to be sort of out of your body, out of your mind. And I still think that's pretty cool. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I just think that back in the days, there were no alternatives. We
Mm.
hadn't really explored all the options that we have today. Today, there's not just sober festivals, but sober people and high people can sit next to each other and enjoy each other's company. There's more acceptance in both sides.
Yeah.
Even the non-drinkers, I think, for myself, speaking for myself, I have an easier time with people that are drinking. I'm like, yeah, They're just trying to, have a good time or trying to forget about their everyday life. They work 60 hours a week and now they're having a good time. So I think that that's changed on both sides. I think we have to embrace each other, but I do think it's important to talk about it all the time because it's every family has, someone that's going through this. It's just part of our life. So.
Yeah. Yeah, it's cool, and it's cool to have this. Yeah, it's like a little more of a, like in the Fish scene, they have a group called the Fellowship that kind of is out there at every show, and you can go, and that's like a safe place for people. I just think it's cool to like make it a little bit more prominent so that people know that it's there and can participate
Yeah,
and maybe feel a little more comfortable.
no, I think so too. I think there's no reason not to be comfortable with it because it
Yeah,
depends on where you are in your life.
yeah,
Sometimes it can be useful to forget about things and you drink a little too much, but then it should be just as easy to tap into, man, I got to clean up. And then
yeah,
go, well, come on over, we'll help you. And not stigmatize it on either end. It just is what it is. It's
yeah,
there.
yeah, yeah. I
It's
love
there.
that. I love that the Phoenix is like, I just like the idea of like combining this Divided Sky Fun Run, which is raising money for Divided Sky Foundation, and then bringing music to it because
Yeah.
it's a music related thing, and I think this event's going to be really cool. You are playing with two other bands, as I mentioned.
Love it.
You're going to be kind of going throughout the Northeast, but is this show going to be any different for you in terms of prep or what you play, or knowing kind of like what the event is, or are you going to approach it more as like just play an awesome show like you always do?
We're gonna kick ass the best we can. I mean, I'm bringing a trio, like an electric power trio. My drummer and bass player, the drummer's Chad Cromwell, and the bass player is Jimmy Earl, and then myself. And we're just gonna have a really good time. I mean, we're gonna dig into my catalog, play some brand new stuff and some older stuff, but I don't think it needs any special prep. This whole year, I feel really, I don't know, I feel really like inspired. I'm
Awesome.
I'm trying to do all kinds of big bands, 5 piece, 4 piece, 3 piece, 2 piece, solo. I'm trying to mix it all up and just like kind of investigate all the different areas of playing the stuff. After 40 years of touring, sometimes you get into this thing where you just do the same, you get your paycheck. And this year, I don't want to do that. I want to, like, okay, let's explore what's happening. I just finished another new record that I have a meeting tomorrow that I'm planning for a release early next year. And I'm planning a session later this year for another record. I want to like stay really, really focused on making the music and then playing it.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
congrats. I wanted to ask you because I mentioned before we started recording that last time we talked was in New Orleans in a studio. I think it was either January or February of 2020, so right before the pandemic. Um,
Hmm.
what kind of, like, was the time off or the time off the road good for you? Because it sounds like you can't now. You're in a place where you're excited to go on the road and excited to play and excited to record. Was the time
Yeah.
off good for you overall?
Yeah, I needed it. It changed me in many ways. First of all, I got to be with the family. I was on the road for way too much for a long time. And I think now I'm going to start every year, or there's going to be a big block of off time where I save up so I have enough so I can take 3 months off and regroup and get inspired and get some fire going. That's what I learned. And the time off, just family time, learning to sit still, more of a routine. I meditate, I have for a very long time, but during the pandemic, it could end up being 4 to 8 hours of meditation. And you never get that on the road. And that was amazing. Just hit this other plane and eating at the same time, sleeping all those things my body really loved it.
Yeah.
I can tell you that. It loved it. It was like, dude, you should do this.
It turns out sleeping regularly in the same place is pretty good for you.
Dude, my bank account said, no, don't do this.
Yeah.
My body said, please do this.
Well, that's great. I'm so glad to hear that you're so stoked about all this stuff. I have a quick question on Picasso's Villa. I know you've released 2 songs. Have you played all of them live, or are some yet to be
Not
played?
all of them. I played the Real Good Dirt, which is like a heavy, almost crazy horror sounding thing. We played To Live a few times. We played Picasso's Villa, the song itself, maybe 2 times, not a lot, but we're going to get ready to do that. We played Bewildered quite a bit also. What else have we played on there? Returning to My Bones, we played
Hmm.
that. Yeah, I've played a few of these the last year and a half. Yeah.
Cool. Cool. Well, it's cool that you get to play more of them on the road, obviously. So,
Yeah.
um, I appreciate you. Thanks for taking the time for this. This is fun. We could talk for much longer, but I wanted to just encourage people. If you're in Vermont or if you're considering going up for the Divided Sky Foundation Fun Run, which is Saturday, May 18th, I think if you register for the fun run, then you can get into the show. But otherwise, you can go to the show separately, which is like 2 to 7, and it'll be Saints and Liars, Dogs in a Pile, and Anders Osborne. And it sounds like it's going to be a pretty awesome day and a really beautiful place. So it sounds like
I can't
it's a
wait.
good
It's going
stop.
to be awesome.
It's a
It's a
good
good
stop on the
one.
tour.
Yeah, man. I
Uh,
love it. I can't wait.
that's great. And just so everyone knows, Anders' album Picasso's Villa comes out on April 26th. So if you haven't seen Anders live, um, I don't think I hope I don't embarrass you by saying that shows are really awesome and you really shred. And there's really good songs, great singing, but also just a lot of it's high energy and really great moving music. So thanks, Anders, for all you do.
Oh, God bless you. Thanks so much, buddy. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, man. Yeah. All right, everyone who's watching the stream, tune into Always Almost There. They're coming live at 4:30. But Anders, we'll see you soon, and thanks for doing this.